The Miami Grand Prix is fast approaching, and with a sprint weekend on the horizon, we're gearing up for a thrilling sequence of events that could offer valuable insights into how this season might evolve. With weather expected to play a significant role in Miami, as well as the all-important psychological warfare between teams, we're left wondering, could this be the moment when Ferrari manages to pick up the shattered pieces of its campaign? Or are we bracing ourselves for yet another dominant display from McLaren and Verstappen? This sprint weekend promises exactly what we crave from Formula One: high-stakes drama. With teams granted only a single one-hour practice session, there's a high chance we'll witness mistakes in car setup, potentially causing some squads to slip down the pecking order. As we saw back in China, Ferrari is particularly eager for sprint formats, having emerged victorious in the most recent sprint event. And we've learned that the SF25 tends to reveal its hidden strengths when track conditions are cooler than usual. Looking at the weather forecast, for FP1 and the sprint qualifying session, there's a 20% chance of rain. On Saturday, when the sprint race and the main qualifying are scheduled, temperatures are expected to hover around a high of 29 degrees Celsius and a low of 21 degrees Celsius, with rain probabilities holding steady. Come Sunday, the cloud cover is forecasted to thicken, pushing the chance of rainfall up to 40%. At one point, that number was even higher, though with Miami's unpredictable climate, it could remain at 90% all day and still not produce a single drop. Nothing is guaranteed here. Miami won't replicate the chillier temperatures we saw in Shanghai, but the looming threat of rain could lower track temperatures just enough to give teams like Ferrari and Mercedes an edge. It's important to highlight just how erratic the weather in this region can be. Within a mere 30-minute window, the skies can swing from thunderstorm-level darkness to blistering sunshine, making it a nightmare for strategists trying to time tire choices or optimize performance. Whatever happens, Ferrari has no margin for error this weekend. Beyond their immediate performance goals, they'll also be collecting crucial data ahead of the first phase of their update package scheduled for Imola just a week later. They'll need to be tactically sharp, squeezing every ounce of potential from the SF25 and adapting quickly to whatever surprises the Miami skies may throw their way. Time and again, we've seen that when they manage to fine-tune the setup, they can absolutely be in the mix at the front. But the growing gap between Hamilton and Leclerc over the past two races is becoming too large to simply ignore. The seven-time world champion openly admitted that the car feels completely alien to him, like something from another planet. Still, that doesn't mean the situation can't flip on a dime. The SF25 is a car with unpredictable tendencies, but just as quickly as it can falter, it can also swing back in Ferrari's favor, especially when we consider the benchmark they set with the sprint win and pole position in China. Expectations are naturally high for a similar result in Miami. Nevertheless, Ferrari isn't throwing in the towel, not in what they believe will be a long and arduous season. While they're cautiously awaiting the introduction of a new technical directive in Barcelona, that doesn't mean they're sitting idly or conceding the championship fight in the meantime. Meanwhile, McLaren finds itself in a very different kind of storm. Internally, the team from Woking has some issues to iron out. On paper, they're the embodiment of dominance right now, with two front-running drivers hungry for the title. But the general consensus was that Lando Norris would be leading the charge this season. Instead, the script has flipped dramatically. Oscar Piastri, sticking to the assertive promise he made at the start of the year, "I'm here to fight for the championship," has backed up his words with results. Piastri is now the only driver in 2025 with more than one win under his belt, 3 victories compared to just 1 apiece for Verstappen and Norris. Like it or not, the current championship leader is entering Miami with serious momentum. And this marks his first-ever Grand Prix as the man to beat in the drivers' standings. Ironically, this happens at the very circuit where Norris claimed his maiden F1 win just last season. That alone gives the Brit a powerful reason to prove he can strike back when it matters most. This championship battle is shaping up to be incredibly tight, and in a season where qualifying performance is making all the difference, the specific characteristics of Miami's layout could be decisive. The track features a blend of slow and medium-speed corners, along with long braking zones on the Delta Straight, all of which seem tailor-made for McLaren. They've been virtually unmatched in low-speed sections this year, meaning the second sector could be their greatest asset this weekend. Still, the first sector, with its sweeping high-speed corners, might paint a different picture. There, we'll need to see how Verstappen and the Ferrari duo respond. If McLaren's supremacy is to remain unchallenged, they'll need to assert themselves across the board. And while they'd certainly prefer blazing sunshine to keep conditions stable, Miami's notoriously fickle weather might have other plans. We've yet to fully understand how this kind of tropical volatility affects an F1 race. In Australia, we saw something similar with scattered rain disrupting proceedings, but Miami weather behaves on an entirely different level. Strategy will be absolutely critical, and adaptability could define who comes out on top. But here's the thing, and you don't have to take my word for it, this is exactly the type of environment where real champions rise. When the pressure tightens, when unpredictability rules, and when the stakes are at their highest, that's when greatness is forged. Lando Norris heads into the Miami Grand Prix carrying more weight on his shoulders than usual, as he finds himself needing to prove something significant to the entire Formula One world. After McLaren's revival last year, he was positioned as the centerpiece of that resurgence. His dominance over Piastri in both qualifying and race pace throughout 2024 created an expectation that he would continue to lead the team into 2025. But that script has unexpectedly flipped. Now, we see a British driver under mounting pressure, someone who made critical mistakes in the sprint qualifying session in China, as well as in Q3 back in Jeddah. These high-pressure scenarios are exactly the kind of moments he must learn to master. Because if he doesn't, it's becoming increasingly likely that Oscar Piastri will become the de facto leader of the Woking-based team. And what would Formula One be without Max Verstappen? The four-time world champion arrives in Miami with a chip on his shoulder after a controversial penalty in Saudi Arabia. But this is a track he's particularly fond of. It was here in 2023 that he crushed Checo Perez's dreams of a title challenge, starting from P9 and slicing through the field with surgical precision to snatch a commanding win. That said, things have shifted dramatically since that day. Red Bull's current state may look strong from the outside, but there are cracks behind the scenes. Verstappen is reportedly struggling with the car's unpredictable behavior, forcing him to push it to the absolute limit to stay within reach of McLaren's MCL 39. And with shifting weather conditions, Mercedes, especially George Russell, could complicate matters. Whether we like it or not, Russell remains one of the most lethal qualifiers on the grid. He shouldn't be underestimated, especially with the ever-changing variables that can shake up a sprint weekend like this one. While no new upgrades are expected due to the sprint format, teams will undoubtedly be making setup tweaks and hunting for every edge they can find. The Drivers' Championship is still wide open, with Verstappen locked in a fierce fight against both McLaren drivers. And don't forget Russell. Once Mercedes unleashes their much-anticipated upgrade package in Imola, he could easily insert himself back into the championship picture. Of course, a Ferrari win this weekend would throw a beautiful wrench into the current power structure, reminding everyone that a rocky start to the season doesn't mean being written off entirely. And speaking of surprises, we shouldn't ignore the shifting landscape of the Constructors' Championship either. Williams showed their teeth in Jeddah and are currently leading the midfield pack. Sprint races offer a golden chance for teams like these to rake in crucial points that could ultimately be worth tens of millions of dollars. But sprint weekends also offer another kind of opportunity, a stage for struggling drivers to make a statement. Liam Lawson, for instance, will be under intense scrutiny in Miami. The New Zealander has yet to score a single point this season. That wouldn't be so damning if not for the fact that both Racing Bulls drivers, Yuki Tsunoda before his promotion and now Isaac Hadjar, have already scored points in that very same machinery. The pressure is sky-high. And let's not even start on Arvid Lindblad, the teenager who just last week in Jeddah became the youngest ever Formula 2 race winner. Red Bull rates him extremely highly, and with Helmut Marko recently showering praise on Hadjar, it's clear the tide may soon turn against Lawson. If he doesn't deliver soon, his F1 career could be in real jeopardy. This weekend may very well be his last chance to finally get on the board and show he deserves to be in this sport. Those points he's chasing could shape the long-term trajectory of the team he represents. So with all this drama, rivalry, and pressure in the air, what storyline are you most excited about heading into the 2025 Miami Grand Prix? Let us know down in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to click on the video that's popping up on your screen right now.